Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Aggretsuko Season 4 on Netflix. And I kind of liked this season a little bit better than Season 3. However, it does not do things in a gradual kind of way. Like, it escalates things to a certain degree that is just insanity in certain instances, and you're just like, what? So we pick off where we left off, and Retsuko is still dealing with the uh, trauma that she had with, of course, the whole stalker attack and everything, and her and Haida are kind of using it as a weird kind of date thing where he keeps walking her home. She like invites him in at one point, but he keeps like coming up with like excuses and lying shit. It's just like I kind of get it, but they kind of drag the will they won't they on too long as Retsuko's still like trying to figure out what's going on before she eventually takes that first step, and they do kind of start going out. This kind of course, dovetails with the whole thing going on with the company, where we've got this outside director, Himuro, who thinks that the company should go in different kind of directions, but until the head of the company kind of has a kind of heart attack thing, opening up the scenario for him to kind of like pop in, it's like, all right. And he decides to start making vast changes and everything, and it's really kind of weird because he's like, yes, we must get all the accounting department's stuff under control because we're bleeding red. I'm like, the previous president was talking about actually making a fucking amusement park, I think. And I'm just like, all right. It's like, yeah, cut shit in the accounting department and have people fired. Pretty much setting Tone up for that. But the thing is, he's trying to use what happened when the bubble economy kind of crashed. They didn't fire anyone, so he's like, yeah, I'm not firing anyone. He does go through with his lackey and try and find people that he can fire and everything, but he still doesn't want to do it and stands up to the dude. And the thing is, this kind of lines up where Retsuko is kind of confused at everything with what's going on with Haida, and her and Feneko get splashed with water, and then he pretty much plies him with wine and pretty much gets stuff that they can pretty much like promote Ton to pretty much take him out as director of accounting and then put him in charge of this bullshit department where he's got nothing to do. Now, granted, that sounds like the perfect kind of paradise for some kind of people, but for Ton, it doesn't really work. And it's really kind of weird that I understand that they're trying to like humanize Ton, but he has been a really kind of shitty boss to Retsuko and a lot of the other people, as he is just a giant kind of dick. And granted, I understand pretty much being given nothing to do is crazy for different people. He's like trying to fill his time, and it's really kind of it's interesting kind of perspective to see that they've got such employment laws that they essentially give them nothing to do to try and force them to quit on their own volition. And Tone's just like, what the hell? And at one point kind of contemplates like jumping in front of a train because he's got nothing to do. It's like, okay, there are other kind of malicious compliance kind of things that you could actually fucking do. Like, you're in that kind of position for doing stuff with like office morale, kind of. Actually start doing shit like get up his ass and be like, here's what I think should be done. You know what I mean? And like there are a lot of kind of different ways you could have played that scenario, and I'm like, okay, so is that, and then he decides to quit, and then he like works at a convenience store, which is also where one of the OTM girls works. And he's like, I gotta deal with this person who's actually using an abacus, and I'm like, listen, I understand certain people aren't that good with tech, but this dude was an accounting dude. He had to actually deal with tech, and I think it's just kind of weird character inconsistency that he's doing and tabulating stuff on an abacus and not putting it into the system where he knows sales and everything would need to be done. Like, it was a level of stupidity or strangeness that was only done to get a joke of him doing the abacus stuff and for the chick to kind of yell at him. So, all right. Well, they also start targeting like the office gossipy kind of lady, and the head of the accounting now is a dick in other ways. Like, her kid gets sick and everything, and she has to kind of deal with it. And he's being like, "Oh, will you be coming in today?" It's like, she has to take care of her fucking kid. Like, and it's a small child. It's like, they can't fend for themselves. And the thing is, she's able to get her work done, and the people around her, coworker-wise, are able to pick up the slack until she's able to get back. Now, granted, it does show the insanity of the corporate world of like, oh yeah, we really need you in here doing this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I get that some people have a job, and I get that some people have to do certain things, but if it is not doing undue burden on her coworkers to help pick up the slack, now that's the thing. That's the very important thing. It should not be creating an undue amount of burden on her coworkers to where they're essentially doing double their functions. They're not doing it. They know that she's good enough at her job, even though she like gossips like a motherfucker, and she's good in taking care of her kid, and they pretty much do the same kind of thing, force her to pretty much, she feels like she's a burden and everything, and decides to just like voluntarily resign. It's just like, ah, shit. And the thing is, I understand what they're trying to like showcase with this. It's just, it's done weirdly, and it's escalated to certain extents that just kind of like destroys my interest, kind of. The thing is, all these things are going around, and we see Haida like talking with one of his bandmates who he broke up with his girlfriend. Well, his girlfriend broke up with him because of his no career ambitions and everything. He starts really working hard at work. He is able to showcase this thing that he came up with that would actually improve the workflow process, and Himuro is like, oh, that's actually pretty good, and really likes it and sees that Haida's really doing a lot of work, and promotes him to the accounting director position as well, which freaks out the other dude, but he kind of handles it. And then we see that they're putting into motion the other kind of thing. And granted, he's doing this to pretty much protect his relationship with Retsuko because he has this vast inferiority complex. Complex. Pardon me. However, it is amplified to such a degree because we see throughout, this is like 10, 15-ish minutes episodes. Some are longer than others. And it just goes on for too long. To a point where it's like they drag it out to a point because they needed to get to certain plot beats. Because we see that in the beginning with their relationship where it's like, will they, won't they? Ah! And like, I don't mind that concept. But the way this was kind of done, it's just like, neither of you are really talking to each other about this. I either need a shit or get off the plot kind of thing, because I'd rather have any kind of other plot thing than will they, won't they. I've done enough of this Ross and Rachel shit. And Eric and Donna shit. Alright? Even though I like those characters just being like that. Like, they get together, they break up. They get together again, they break up. Will they, won't they? Oh my god. And then we see that this, of course, they are at least able to fuel it with character kind of stuff with Haida, but the thing is, they fuel him to such a degree that he starts doing illegal shit. I know he's trying to do it to kind of protect Retsuko and protect kind of any kind of other people from the accounting department, kind of doing it kind of to like what Ton was doing. However, it's just like, okay, you're not really selling this to me on why he would be doing this. Because to me, with what we've seen with Haida's character so far, this seems like a real kind of stretch to kind of get there. And the thing is, they just needed a little couple more other steps to kind of get to that conclusion. Now, granted, we've seen that Retsuko has been talking with Tadano, and that for, even though she's had to deal with a stalker and everything like that, her best way of helping Ton out is to have her manage, have him manage her death voice channel, which has gotten like a fuck ton of views, and I'm like, couple million subscribers and millions of views, and then like the other OTM dudes like, let's collaborate. It's like, alright, I understand little jokes in the background. It's just like, alright, we only have so much time and so much story. Alright, whatever. But they utilize the OTM people, and I'm like, yeah, they definitely need help, so why aren't you helping them? It's nuts. I'm like, alright, but the thing is, you stop because of being attacked by a stalker, which is understandable, which confused me of why. I'm like, granted, as long as you're not going to like in-person kind of stuff, I kind of get it. And I get that they're essentially trying to put it in a different kind of scenario where Retsuko's the boss to Ton, and Ton tries to throw the shit back at her of like, oh, that's are you bullying me? It's like, the man did not learn any of the lessons of like trying to be a better boss and a better employee. And Retsuko is trying to be the better person to help you out. And it's just like, you want to know what, dude? You could just, she almost should have just been like, listen, you can go back there. But of course, he's needed for the whole espionage kind of route as we get Ocean style for them to figure out that Haida is cooking the books and Retsuko needs to confirm it. She kind of confronts him. He's like, yeah, I'm doing adult things. I'm like, yeah, adult things isn't like trying to do illegal shit to save a company from going under. To me, if a company is not well run, fuck it. Like, why, granted, I understand the human costs and all that kind of stuff, but there should be a better company with better managers and everything, so that way you don't have to worry about doing illegal shit to keep it up and running. And Himuro is just a complete douche. And it's crazy because we see that, like, Haida thinks he's fighting against Tondo, and he's like, no, you're fighting somebody else. And then they do this weird, stupid thing, because they pretty much get the stuff from Haida, and they're like, they confront him about it, and he's like, alright, I'm going to do what I need to do. And he tries to get Himuro to stop, and Himuro's like, no, and he's like, alright, fine. And then he arm wrestles him, and Death singing as well, and then Retsuko pops in, does a death scream that's like an energy blast, and I'm like, what the fuck? I understand that there was the death metal kind of thing in your head that you would kind of visualize, but I'm like, this is the first time that it actually kind of came out, and it blasted Haida and Himuro into the manager of the OTM girls kind of like window thing. Is like, alright, he gets taken out, he gets his leg thing, they set everything up, Tong gets his job back, so does the gossipy lady. Haida decided to quit, and I don't know what the fuck really goes on with that. Evidently his parents are loaded, and he lives in an apartment rent-free, because Fenico had to info dump that. But he's finally gotten over his kind of inferiority complex with Tondo, and tells him good job for, like, a certain kind of thing. And I guess him and Retsuko are together, because it really wasn't clear. I mean, she came, and then they kind of, like, went off to stuff, and I kind of understand that since he was doing, like, illegal shit, that he didn't feel like he could be around there anymore. It's just really kind of weird scenarios and places to put these characters. I don't know where it would go from here, but I'm just like, alright. And granted, I pretty much just watched this because I had some time, and I'm like, alright, these little things are about like 15 minutes a piece. I can blast through this pretty easily. And you can. It's just weird escalation things. I like that they touched upon some corporate stuff of like the bubble economy, what it kind of takes to hire and fire people in companies in Japan. I just think it was escalated to such a weird kind of extent that it wasn't even kind of funny. It's just like, alright, why is this so fucking crazy? It's oddness of tone. Like, the thing is, we would go to kind of office-like lengths with kind of crazy stuff, but not to the point of, like, Michael burning his foot on a George Foreman grill. But the thing is, it goes even further than that when it's just like, these people, it's trying to watch two people who want to be in a relationship but don't communicate to each other. Holy shit, this is so frustrating, why am I watching this? And then, oh, he cooks the books and is just acting like an asshole. I'm like, alright. And the thing is, I think you need a little bit more time to, like, delve into and do these kind of things, even though these are built for, like, shorter things. So I'm like, okay, if you're going to deal with certain things in a shorter kind of time frame, condense it as much as possible and maximize it for, like, either laughs or seriousness, because you can do one or the other, and sometimes both if you're able to juggle them properly. This, I was just like, okay, I'm here. These characters are acting kind of weird because the plot kind of demands it. It's really, I got more of a feel that the plot was demanding certain kind of things, especially with how Haida was acting, even though he did have, like, certain character seeds that would have lent to that, but I could definitely feel it being kind of manipulated on certain aspects. So, if you're into this anime and have been through it for, like, the first couple seasons, I think you would be okay watching this one and you'd get your usual kind of stuff out of it that you'd like. Well, if you haven't seen the other ones and you're just like, I want to see what the newest one's about, I would actually recommend that you go see some of the other ones because I think that they're better. Now, granted, if you got nothing on and you need something in the background, alright, cool, pop that in, walk it up, you'd be good. You'd be like, alright, cool, stuff, noise. Um, it just got really kind of weird on the character development front, in my opinion. I.e., with the inconsistency of going like really weird extremes on certain things. Sometimes for like weird stories, and sometimes for a comedic effect that just I don't know why you do it. Like it's actively trying to make a character dumber, even though he was a dumb asshole at certain things. It's just like, all right. So I wouldn't recommend this, but I would not recommend this. It's kind of like on that neutral kind of thing. It's not completely and utterly horrendously bad where I'm like, I've wasted my life. Like, I only have certain time on this earth, and I fucking watch this. It's not that. Though, granted, there have been certain things that I've watched, and I'm like, that was fucking awesome. I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. It's not this either. This is that kind of middle of the road where it's like, alright, if you need something, go for it. But if there's something better, go for that. So those are my opinions on this season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.